I, what's really going on? Bitcoin cryptocurrency, you're going to be taking a look at XLM against USDT on the Binance chart. Going to be taking a look at the technical aspects of price action moving forward. What is happening here at this breakout from this crazy consolidation that we've been in along 38 cents for the past kind of few weeks. We've now finally been rallying aggressively, steadily through these kind of key resistance points that we're going to be identifying. Jumping right into it, let's recap this kind of like uptrend here. We have some insane gains from the low sub 10 cents level all the way up to the 50 cent level there. We're now past 50 cents all the way up to 69, kind of 70 cents. Now there's some key kind of levels we've been interacting with almost like perfectly since this consolidation along 38 cents, kind of these swing highs of like a kind of 43 and like 36 kind of area. We broke out and we've been kind of breaking out and retesting along the way. This seems to be the third kind of pullback from the kind of swing highs. We had like a 12%, 13%, had a 20% from the swing high to the swing low there. And now we've had another kind of 18%. So we've had, this third kind of pullback. We seem to be finding support along this 60 cent kind of level, a psychological kind of round level there that I believe the longer we can hold, we can be more short-term bullish, and the uptrend can continue more steadily and aggressively. We are up since the beginning of the month. Realistically, we are, we've seen about 70%, 69%. We're up 54% currently in kind of very short amount of time. So the, more upward we are aggressively, the more kind of downward pressure will kind of suddenly have to come into play. And so like the more we can hold sideways through that downward momentum that comes from aggressive upward, the more bullish we can continue to be. And prices could, very well hold along here, print some higher highs and kind of continue. Or we can kind of, aggressively sort of like pump and just kind of, steadily make these kind of aggressive kind of inclines kind of similar to these kind of candles like we had. We get 200% in 4 days, kind of not that long after having, 120% in 4 days, kind of. So when we have these aggressive pumps, this one, if we consider, the month, the 70% kind of rally, I don't believe that's like nearing the end of the rally. We can definitely kind of continue, set some higher highs here. We can interact with the dollar, I believe, pretty soon, as we enter a very certain key range that we will be identifying. When we slap on EngineeringRobo along with the key fettuccine lines, we have kind of a new perspective come into play. If we let them kind of draw, we have these kind of key levels correlating nicely along with some buy signals and volume coming into the kind of upward movement here. We're getting this projection off of 70 cents and interacting with this kind of supporting range of, kind of 56 and 60 cents. Seems to be sort of like an aggressive range we might fall down to, all the way down to like 55. Nice kind of psychological round level. If we were to consolidate in a bearish manner, print like a lower high, hypothetically, come down to like kind of there before we kind of come back up. We have, buy 4, moon, buy 3, and all this kind of volume coming in to the breakout. When we had this kind of, sell 3, sell 4 held present, we traded pretty relatively sideways for, a good, probably, 50 days there, almost kind of 2 months. And so now we're finally seeing some steady upward, but along the way, traders will be taking profit. There will be, as a trader buying, there's a trader selling. And so there'll be tons of traders that have been holding kind of through this that are going to be taking profits at their key levels kind of thing. But there's plenty of long-term, and this volume does suggest there being some long-term presence and some more upward ahead. If we consider the price of Stellar against the price of Bitcoin, we see some kind of key kind of price action. We have some very aggressive buy pressure around this kind of range. Prices seem to be very supporting by that kind of key range there, and so we've been closing well above that. We now seem to be interacting what I believe will be the next sort of key resistance range around kind of this candle, and that will be sort of the next kind of key range that I believe we'll be interacting with very soon, that we could face some rejection briefly from, kind of get rejected from it, but I do believe ultimately we can break through and close above with the bullishness of these retests. So we have 1, 2, this will be probably, I believe, the third interaction that we're going to be having with this kind of key zone. And so, like I said, some rejection off of it, sideways briefly, is to be expected perhaps, but knowing crypto and this being the price against Bitcoin, and knowing Bitcoin, and Bitcoin doesn't even know what it's doing, so prices could very much skyrocket straight through, and we could easily see some closes above the more significant next support or resistance around 1500 Satoshi there. So lots going on when we slap on EngineeringRobo along with the key Fibonacci, Fettuccine, Illuminati, sacred angles and lines and ratios. If I let them draw here, we have these supporting buy signals along with these moving average crossover, and some nice volume still coming into play. Have these buy 4 moon golden cross key range that we're trading in. They've been kind of sideways for the past few days, which is nice. The more we trade sideways and accumulate steadily against Bitcoin's randomness, the better and the more short-term bullish we can be, I believe. So I mean, once we break through, we're going to interact with this kind of range and then kind of make our way upward. We do believe we're in a bit of a kind of pivotal state. We could get a rejection, print a short-term lower high, come down kind of like to a lower range. But I do believe ultimately we can kind of see these upward kind of gains. We've been fighting this moving average for a while. The kind of death cross, golden cross kind of has been coming and going. We now seem to be attempting the golden cross by 4 moon combination again, but fundamentally after this sort of consolidation, so I mean from a technical perspective, this is a nice kind of healthy consolidation against the price of Bitcoin. Along with these kind of supporting buy signals coming into play, this does seem to be a different set of circumstances that will allow us to, kind of break through this kind of key resistance range that I believe will be our next kind of significant point that we've interacted with kind of 3 times in the past. Let's see. This will be the 3rd time we interact with this range that we've interacted with twice in the past, kind of 142 days there. And so, if we consider the price of Bitcoin itself against US dollar tether on the Binance chart, and we can see a new perspective come into play. We have the buy force still present. We have this dip being bought. We had this rejection. We broke all-time highs, had this rejection off of kind of the next resistance there around 65K. We dipped all the way down, had to swing low, 7% retracement all the way back down to 60K, all the way back down to 60K, 59. And so now that dip was very quickly bought up, very quickly bought up. We're back up to 62, and so let's say we print a lower high, which I don't believe we will. We could consolidate bearishly, but I do believe we're probably going to kind of break this. But I do seem to believe this to be some resistance that we could trade sideways for like a day or two. And if we don't kind of break through it, but say perhaps we do print a lower high, we could consolidate in a more bearish manner back down to 50K range. But with these kind of supporting buy signals present, and there's like the bullishness of Bitcoin overall and the consolidation between this ever so tight range between this kind of key levels of 60K and kind of lows of 40K, 50K kind of thing. We've been trading there for like 2 months, and so now we're ready to break upward and onward, continuing the uptrend. Let's see if we consider the fear and FOMO zone. We're nowhere near just yet. FOMO zone all the way up there at 80K, 81K. The higher the FOMO zone goes, the more kind of bullish we can kind of be once we're kind of in there. So like the higher we go long term, the more we know that once we get to the FOMO zone, that will might be our inevitable kind of pump to the old 100K range. 6-figure Bitcoin, I believe, is pretty soon here. If we consider the fear and FOMO zone against XLM, against the price of US dollar tether, we can kind of see a new perspective, and we can see a kind of new set of scenarios come into play here. We have interaction with the FOMO zone. We have kind of brief interaction with the FOMO zone there. Had this projection to come down to this range, but you know, as we see, this is our second time interacting with the FOMO zone. We weren't able to kind of reach higher up into it. The FOMO zone has risen, you know, past where it was prior to when we interacted with it. We traded sideways, kind of along it under for, you know, a good few days here, a good week, over a week. And so we could very well trade sideways along this kind of very key range for kind of a few days before we kind of continue the uptrend. If we were to able to hold kind of this level here, we could very much go into the FOMO zone again. And, you know, with the FOMO zone, we definitely could see a rejection immediately and kind of come off and trade sideways, or we very well could kind of skyrocket, tops will get bought, and the FOMO zone can take us to kind of very crazy swing highs and like higher highs very quickly and rapidly. You know, say you traded and were investing since the fear zone, you have successfully made, you know, say you were trading back in the fear zone November, October 2020, say you cut the last part in November, you know, say you forgot to sell after the 600, 560% in 102 days, fear to FOMO zone trade. If you forgot to sell there, we have now interacted again with the FOMO zone, and you would have made 720%, 730% rather, in 162 days, fear to the FOMO zone. That is this is kind of a more mid to long-term investor kind of strategy, but these key ranges do indicate where volatility will be present. And so sell pressure is usually very present among the FOMO zone here, but FOMO is also abundantly present as well. So tops get bought, swing highs are created, and you know, onward the trend could you know, continue. Thanks for tuning in. Watch out for the breakout. Watch out for key resistance levels. Watch out for higher highs or lower lows. Seller doing a lot of things. We're in a volatile state. We're going to be entering key pivotal moment. Thank you for tuning in. Check out all the social media down below. Subscribe here on YouTube, and tune in for the next one.